Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming here. I am so honored to be here in front of you, and besides Professor Jackson, who nourished us very well and enough. And I am happy to deliver my talk to the dear students here as well as professors. And I hope that we all get something and take away something from this meeting. This is my first visit to this university, and I hear that this is one of the best universities here in the Los Angeles, and you have got very good department in religious studies, in philosophy. You have got good students in philosophy and in religious studies. Therefore, I expect, a very hot debate among us and over the issues we are going to raise. And hopefully, as I said, we will benefit from it, all of us. Now, you might consider my talk as a sequel to Professor Jackson's talk, or maybe as a footnote to his. But anyway, I ask permission from him, maybe to sometimes to differ from him. But it doesn't matter, because maybe we are tracking two different paths. Anyway, as all analytic philosophers do, first I have to give you some definitions and some divisions and classifications as I understand about the secularism, be it in Islam or elsewhere, and then I will plunge into the real issue about the main title of my talk is theology and secularization. And I would like to argue that theology is a kind of secularization within the Islamic culture, within the Islamic philosophy or Islamic civilization. Therefore, in a sense, we have got, and we had already secularization within us, but not perhaps for the reasons that Professor Jackson gives. So I have got my own reasons about it. And especially I apply it to this business of ilm al-kalam, I mean theology rather than sharia or fiqh. Also, it applies to the fiqh as well, but it was dealt with, so I am not going to indulge into it very in length. So let me give you an analogy. Not every non-religious thing is secular. So here we have to be very clear. Because as Professor Jackson mentioned, for some people, this is an inclusive dichotomy, secular or religion. But what I would like to argue for is that not every non-religious thing is secular. Always secularism is defined by reference to a religion. So in my analogy, separation of, secularization is like a process of divorce. Not every single person is a divorcee, but every divorcee maybe is a single person before he remarries, of course. Therefore, secularism is a divorce from religion. And we had cultures, we had civilizations before, the advent of religions. We cannot call them secular. For example, the ancient Greece, we cannot call them a secular society or a secular philosophy, perhaps. Or even the present China, present and past, I'm not sure that we can call them their culture, we cannot call a secular culture. Actually, sociologists of religion like Jose Casanova, they are very hesitant as to what to call the ancient Greece, for example, society, or the present China society. Is it secular or not? Therefore, not every, for example, let me give you an example. What about the principle of causality? Do you think that it is a secular principle or a non-secular principle? It is not certainly a religious principle, because religions did not actually produce, and prophets were not there in order to teach us philosophy about causality and so on. But it is not a secular one because it was not sometimes religious and now divorced from religion. So it is neither religious nor secular. So there we have got a three-partite actually division here: secular, religious, and something which is neither religious nor secular. So this is one thing which we have to bear in mind. And secondly, since all secularity has got reference to a particular religion, we had a plurality of secularisms. You know, I'm not talking here postmodernity. This is quite a logic which I follow from my previous definition. You know, Christianity produces its own secularity, and Islam produces its own secularity. Therefore, there are secularities rather than one single secularity which is general, which is all-encompassing, which is universal, and which is essential. That is not the case at all. If there is a secularism, and if there is a divorce from religion, if some, you know, disciplines and some policies, you know, made, you know, parted their, you know, they actually separated themselves from religion. Therefore, with respect to the religion that they make partition, you have got a different secularity. If there is an Islamic secular, if there is a separation of secular and religion, it would be different in Islam as in Christianity, and if there are any other religion. Therefore, we have got different and a plurality of secularities because we refer to different religions. Okay. Now, the third thing is nothing can be separated, part company, from religion unless it is essentially non-religious. This is a heart of the point that I would like to make. If something is essential to any particular religion, you cannot separate it from it. You can divorce it. The divorce can take place among human beings and among, you know, religion and non-religion, when they are two different things. And one can be separated from the other. But if one thing is an essential part of the other, you cannot separate it. But therefore, what we call it secular or secularization in the course of history, and the separation of some disciplines and some you know, spheres of life from religion, it means that they were not originally and essentially part of the religion. They were there inside the religion, but non-religious in essence. Non-religious in essence. This is a very important point to make. For example, in the modern time, when we talk about the politics and about the secularization, the first thing that comes to our mind is that it is the separation of church and state. Okay, suppose that that is the definition or one big part of the secularization, but politics cannot be separated from religion unless it is not an essential part of religion. If it is an essential part of religion, then you cannot separate it, nor by logic, nor by force. Neither by logic, nor by force. So if any separation takes place, that means that logically, logically, they were not one and the same. One was not essential part of the other. Therefore, it actually directs us, it leads us to the question, what is essentially a religion? What is the essence of the religion? So without having a definition of the essence of religion, any religion, we cannot actually define secularism. We cannot make sense of secularization. And therefore, here actually we come across a very important point, and that is what are the essentials of religion? What are the essentials of religions? I am sure, and I know that most of you perhaps know that nowadays the time of going about essences is gone, and essentialism is a bad philosophy, is a bad thing, and so therefore we are living in a time after Wittgenstein that the words and terms and concepts do not have any essences. You have to look for the application of the words and terms and so on and so forth, and there are different games we play, so a game of religion, a game of secularism, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's a possible answer. You know, I'm not going to challenge you about that. If you argue that there are no essence to religion, therefore the whole business of secularity and secularization is at loss, because whenever you have got a well-defined boundary for religion, then you can talk about the outside of religion. But when there is no such a boundary, when there is no such a definition, definition means to define. I mean, to show where something is finished, is no longer exists. I mean, and then starts the outside of the religion. So when there is no definition, and definition always is based on essence of things, Aristotelian logic, And if there is no essential definition of religion, then there is no much difference between secularity and religion. You have to have a well-defined, religion in order to define secularism accordingly. In order to have secularism and to define secularism accordingly. Actually, my point is like a point of Karl Marx, when he talks about nominalism. He says that if you do not have a well-defined matter, then the separation or perhaps the distance between matter and non-matter disappears. You have to have a definition of matter in order to know what is matter and then what is mind, what is matter and what is soul. If there is no definition, then everything can mingle with other things, it's mixed up, and you cannot tell which is which. Anyway, this is my third point, that in order to see what is secularism, and I mean a plurality of secularisms, we have to have at least a vague idea of the essence of the religion that we have in mind. I tell you what is the essence of religion in my view. I mean, some people might say that it is God, perhaps, or some other things. My theory about it is to follow the Prophet. The Prophet is the center and the heart of any religion. And following the Prophet is the essence of all religions. If you follow your own reasoning, you are not a religious person. You are following yourself. If you are following the argumentations of a particular philosopher, you are a follower of that philosopher. Only when you follow the Prophet, you are a religious person. You follow the religion, you follow the Prophet without asking him the reason for what he says. If you ask him, this is the crucial point here, if you ask him what are the reasons behind what you say, then you will follow those reasons. You do not follow the Prophet, and you are not a religious person. Here comes the idea of faith. The idea of faith means that you trust somebody, and this trust actually is the heart of religiosity, the heart of faith. This is what you have it in the Quran, al-tawakkul. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُتَوَكِّلُونَ. Tawakkul means trust, means faith, means something, I mean, like jump into the darkness, according to Kierkegaard. And this is the essence of religiosity. Whenever argumentation comes in, there is here you will have a distance. Sorry? Mm-hmm. Sure. Whenever, you try to find the arguments, the reasons behind the legal rules, behind the religious edicts, then you will be following that reasons. You are not following the Prophet, and they are no longer religious person. So this is the essence of religiosity. Some people would say that the essence of religiosity is the religious experience. I know that there are different suggestions here, different ideas, but this is what I understand from being the follower of Prophet and being a religious person proper. And a secular person is somebody who follows his reason, not following the Prophet. This is very important. Therefore, a God which is being proved or perhaps justified, the existence of God by philosophical reasoning, is a secular God. It's not a religious one. It's not a religious one. A God which is introduced to you by the Prophet is the God of the religion, and worshipping that God makes you religious. Worshipping a God which is proven by a philosopher does not make you a theist, does not make you a muwahhid, does not make you a religious person. When you follow the God that the Prophet introduces to you, then your Islam is, is there, is established. This is very important. Therefore, here actually what I would like to mention and to bring to your attention, that theology exactly makes the same thing. It actually gives you, liberates you from religion and gives you the reasoning behind the religious ethics and behind the religious teachings. And therefore, you will follow your reasoning, you will follow your arguments, you will follow, the benefits maybe of the things that the religion introduces to you. And from here, the secularization actually begins. That is, I think, the main reason why our fuqaha and our ulama, the traditionalists, they did not like theology. They did not like philosophy because they didn't use the word secularization, but just they sensed it. They thought that something alien is coming into the sphere of religion, which, empties religion from within and, makes rationality over and above the revelation. You follow the revelation when you take it from the prophet. But if you rationally justify the content of revelation, and then follow it, you are following your reason. You are following your intellect. You are not following the revelation. This is the main point. Therefore, secularization actually is a fifth column, if you like. Rationalization is the fifth column, which make its way through philosophy, through theology, into the sphere of religion, very surreptitiously, very clandestinely. You do not, understand how it surreptitiously creeps in, but it does, and it has done in the past, and it is doing now. And therefore, the religion of theologians is very different from the religion of ordinary people. Ordinary people are followers of the prophet, proper. But the theologians are the followers of their own reasoning, their own philosophy. These two are very different from each other, and I hope I have made my point as clear as I could. And I have provoked your protest against it, I hope. But I hope my point is quite clear that in order to be a religious person, you have to be a follower of your prophet. If you follow, if you think that unless you justify what prophet says, rationally you would not follow him. This is no longer the following of the prophet. This is following your reason. And this is no religiosity at all. Because the essence of religion is to follow the prophet, whether you know why or you do not know the why. But when you go about to find the why about the religious ethics, and you justify yourself through rationalization, then you are a philosopher for yourself, and you are somebody who knows the good and bad for yourself through your own reason, and then you will be your own prophet, and you follow your own personal religion. That is not the religion that is revealed to the prophet and he is revealing to us. So theologization as secularization. This has happened in every religion, not only in Islam, but in Christianity and in Judaism. We know all of them have got theology. That's why people like Al-Ghazali was so inimical towards theology. And of course, his reason is different from my reasons. But again, he had got the sense of something which is alien. And it is creeping surreptitiously, as I said, into the sphere of religion, and people do not understand that they are, being, how can I put it, being deceived, being misled by this hidden theology. I am not saying here that you should not study theology. I am a theologian myself. I've written a lot about it, and I have actually lived out of it. And I am not saying that you should not study philosophy. I have done philosophy and I teach philosophy and I've written about it. All I'm saying is this, that please be careful. What is the essence of religiosity and what is the essence of Iman, of faith? Let me give you an example from the Quran itself. You know, sometimes you come across one of the legal rules in Quran and in Sunnah, not much difference. For example, in the Quran we have got that the drinking wine is forbidden, okay? And gambling is forbidden, all right. Now, why should we actually abstain from drinking wine? Because it is harmful to our health, or it is because of the edicts of the Prophet? Which one? If you abstain from drinking wine because it is harmful, because of the sanity, this is no religion. This is not a religious thing. This is following your own reason. It's okay, following your own reason, that's fine. But do not call it religious, please. But if you abstain, if you take it forbidden, not because of your reason, but because of your Prophet, then that is religion. They might coincide. They might coincide. I am not saying that they are contradictory, but it depends on your approach. Which is the basis of your abstaining? Is it the basis is your reasoning, your argumentation, your investigation, your scientific justification, or perhaps it is, the edict and the fatwa and the imperative of the Prophet you receive. This is very important. In the Quran, we have got reasoning, and wherever you come across a reasoning, there is a separation from religion. And Quran uses it. قُلْ فِيهِمَا خَيْرٌ كَثِيرٌ. In gambling and in what? In drinking wine. وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. But the sin is greater than the benefit. So this is quite a reasoning. So it tells you that even inside the religion you have secular argumentations. But there are many things in religion you have that there are no reasoning behind it. We may not find the reason behind it, the hikmah behind it. Still we have to follow it and we have to honor it. And this is the essence of religion, as I said. Therefore, wherever you find arguments in favor of any religious edicts and you follow the argument, then you are following your reason. And following the reason is good enough, but it's not religious enough. So be careful about this. They are not hostile to each other, they are not inimical. I'm sure that I have run out of time, sorry, but a little bit more, and yes, I will finish it off very soon. On the basis of what's said already, we have got two types of secularity or secularization. The first one, Professor Jackson had his own typification, and mine is not contradictory of what's to be said, but just a simplification. First is political secularization, which means the separation of church and state as all of us know. And I told you already that the separation cannot take place logically when one is the essential part of the other. But then we have got philosophical secularization. Philosophical secularization, the political secularization is an attribute of the state. It's not an attribute of people. I have seen that some people are confused about America. They say America has got religious people, but the state is secular. Yes, political secularism is for the state alone. But people are religious, of course. People, they are religious, they are following their own, the rules of their religion. Philosophical secularism means two things. Either philosophically you deny, you reject religion. This is philosophical secularism, which is based on a rational rejection of religion, or philosophical secularization means philosophical justification of religion. This is the second one is more important, the philosophical justification of religion, which means a separation from religion, which means following your own reason rather than following the revelation. This is the important thing, and most of the people perhaps do not actually notice this. Now, my last point is about, which I think is the expertise of Professor Jackson, but I dare say something about it as well, and about the fiqh al-maqasid. You know fiqh al-maqasid, and Professor Jackson perhaps in the Q and answer after this, but we do not have it. I hope we had more time for him to explain what is fiqh al-maqasid. Is a very big school in fiqh, mainly in the Sunni fiqh, not in Shi'i fiqh. In Shi'ism, it is not very well developed, and Shi'i fuqaha did not follow this path. I'm not sure for why and for what reason, but in the Sunni fiqh, from Imam al-Haramain and then his disciple al-Ghazali and many others, and Shatibi and Ibn Ashur and many others, they have developed this business of the fiqh al-maqasid, which means they try to classify, different rules and legal edicts in fiqh under 5 categories, in order to give us what are the hikmah, what are the wisdom behind these legal rules in Islam. For example, why drinking wine is forbidden because it has got something to do with our sanity. Why the hand of a thief should be cut because of we have to honor the ownership. Why zina, the indulgence is forbidden because the idea of, the descendants and so on, the family should be protected and so on. So all these rules in Sharia, they have got wisdoms behind it. Sometimes they are apparent, sometimes not, and the fuqaha actually tried to find all of them and categorize them under 5, which is, inductive, and no reason behind these 5 categories. You can even elaborate on that, even make it more than that. I have added 1 or 2 more to these categories and wisdoms, but anyway, this fiqh al-maqasid actually has got an aura of secularization, but it is not a secular fiqh, I assure you. They just gives us the wisdom behind it, in the sense that the Prophet or God or whoever revealed it to the Prophet had wisdom behind it, had reasons why he revealed. But whether we find the reason behind it, whether we find the wisdom in the legal rule or not, it doesn't matter. We have to follow it so long as we are certain that they come from the Prophet or they come from the revelation. One more point, sorry about this, and here I address Professor Jackson in what he said, and I got here from him. All I gathered actually from his excellent speech was that in fiqh we have got mubahat. Is that what you said, dear Professor? Mubahat. Which, mubahat, they are not, wajib, and because of that, if you call them secular, because we are free to do whatever we like in mubahat. You said, I can build this house or build that house. This is mubah. And you called it Islamic secular. Therefore, I hope, so I misunderstood you?
Yeah,
yes, so this is the last part, and I hope that I receive an answer from him and make the debate hotter. Thank you very much for listening to me.